Spinning and it's spinning. And oh, I think that we just might be live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of LBC Creators Spotlight here on the Long Box Crusade. We appreciate you guys being here. So we're going to have a good time this evening. As usual, we're going to introduce my co-host. It is mighty Mark Hatherley.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hey, look, he's so excited to be here. It's been like 2 months, so Mark and I are so excited to be back.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's good to be back.
It is good to be back. I, of course, am Jarrod Alberich. You may know me as the Death Probe or perhaps the Yard Sale Artist. And, of course, we have mighty Mark Hatherley here with us this evening. And,
yes, sir.
Man, Mark, how have you been? Tell me how you've been. What you've been up to? Well, I get prepared to bring other cool things on the screen.
Yeah, I've been good. I had a situation a couple of weeks ago. My health wasn't at the best, but I made it through, so that's a good thing. So it sort of put me back a bit, but I'm moving along steadily with the Shipwrecker, which is a good thing. And I check the Google Drive pretty often. I see it's been all the progress made as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I check the Google Drive a lot myself.
Yeah, I can't help it. I just get anxious to check.
Yes.
But so far, I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent.
How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear about your health woes.
Yeah. But
I'm glad
we got through it.
As long as you got space to draw and a good drawing hand, I'm okay.
That's the spirit.
Oh, awesome. Is the Duchess out and about tonight?
Yeah, the Duchess is here. I'm not sure if she's coming in or out, but she's here.
Okay. Hello, I hear in the background. We all love the Duchess. Everybody loves the Duchess.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I see we've got our friend Courtney in the chat.
Hello, Courtney.
She was missing us last month, and we had to do an abrupt cancellation, unfortunately, last month. My wife was having a very routine procedure done at the hospital. It just took way longer than we thought it was going to take. So that was a bummer. But you mentioned it, Mark. It is time for the Shipwrecker update. And of course, I have a banner for that because, that's how I roll.
Yeah.
So for our Shipwrecker update, let's go over to my other crafty selections here. I've got 2 things to show you guys today. First, we will show you a beautiful double-page spread. There you go. That Mark showed me. That is when we fully see the two ships, the giant pirate ship as well as the barge coming side by side, and so much action happening. It's just, that is incredible work, Mark. That's really great.
Thank you, Jarrod. It was a lot of work.
I can tell.
But it's always enjoyable for me to. I enjoy doing it, so it's no problem.
One of my favorite things about this page, I'll peek out from the side. There we go. One of my favorite things about this page is not only your gorgeous artwork, but I know what is being said in that bottom panel on the right, and it amuses me to this day. I guess I shouldn't be amused by my own writing, but I know what he's saying, and it still makes me laugh, so that's good.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's fascinating too. When you actually see the pictures to go with it. You know what I mean?
It's wonderful.
Because it's one thing, right? But when you see the actual dialogue, it brings everything together. I understand what you're saying. I'm really looking forward to it,
Oh, good. Oh, yes, I am looking forward to it as well. We've got Mike Smith in the chat. In fact, he gave you positive feedback. Looking great. Nice details.
Yes, thanks.
Courtney in the chat says that is stunning, and she's not wrong at all.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. The positive input, it helps. We're always looking to improve, That's the whole name of the game.
You know it. And now that we've shown off our pencils, I'm going to show off a little bit of our inks, and then we're going to welcome in our special guest for this episode. He is waiting in the wings. But quickly, I'm going to give you the double-page spread of the title page, where we, sort of like a James Bond style comic. So there is a James Bond style credits title page, and that is drawn by your boy Mark, with inks by our buddy Ron Wint. So Ron has inked the title page, and I was just chatting with our friend Rob Jones. He's our letterer out of England. I was chatting with him yesterday or the day before, giving him all the information, of what to write on these pages, and told him, make it look very James Bondian, as your wonderful pencils did. and of course Ron's inks.
Oh yeah, that brought it to life, you know.
Yes, indeed.
And he actually captured, like, just as I because I didn't know if I had marked it out, direct enough for him to be able to see it, but he did it, and he did it exactly how I was at. It actually looks better than I thought it would look.
That's our boy Ron.
Yeah, Ron. So Ron, he'll keep it up. He's doing a good job, and trust me, it's a huge help. Believe you me.
Oh yeah. Ron picking up those inking. I hope he continues to do so.
Well, exactly. I mean, right? Because but it's totally up to him,
Yeah.
But so far, so good,
So far, so good, indeed. Courtney says that's mind blowing, and we got Pat Sampson, founder of the Longbox Crusade Network, in the chat, saying that's an awesome name for a comic. I came up with it myself, Pat. So that is your Shipwrecker update. Anybody who missed last week, I'll do a quick show of page 1 with its colors. It is also now lettered, so I should show that next time. But there's page 1.
Yeah, the letters are cool. The letters are awesome as well,
Oh yeah, the lettering's looking, so everything's coming together.
Yeah, it's coming together.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Shipwrecker update. As always, if you have any questions about creating independent comics, either from the writing and sort of project management side for me, or for the art side for Mark, feel free to ask in the chat.
So yeah, I see a question from Mike Smith.
Yep, I'll put it on the board.
Yeah, actually, I do ink as well.
Yes.
I don't mind inking. I'm not the best inker. I'm pretty scratchy, but yeah, I do ink. I ink the first few pages, but it's nice to have another person in as well, because it adds to the whole dynamic of the the finished product, I think.
Yeah, we were really fortunate. I'm going to speak for you as usual, Mark. We were really fortunate.
Yeah,
because Mark was inking himself, and then we picked up Ron as an inker, and it was at the perfect point, because Mark had inked the opening scene, because like I said, it's much like a James Bond movie, has an opening scene and then credits and then the big story, and we picked up Ron right when Mark finished doing the opening scene.
Yeah,
so
that's
Mark,
right too. That's right too. That's exactly. So it's at a good point.
Great point
where he took over.
Inker.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that's going to blend pretty well too.
I think you're probably right. It's looking good. Everything I've seen on my end is looking good.
Yeah,
so excellent.
Yeah, and with the colors, I think with the colors, it's only going to pop even more. Ace is doing a good job, but you just hope everybody can continue on. I know people have other obligations.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts, and
because we've been seeing this project since I don't know when. Start of it. You know what I mean?
Hey, you just chip away.
Yeah, we're just chipping away. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun, dude.
Well, I tell you what, it's time to bring in our creator spotlight. He knows a little something about chipping away at things.
I'm sure
he's created more than a few. I want to welcome to the show. There we go, Mr. Van Allen Plexico. Welcome to the show, Van.
Whoa,
that's right. That's right. I put you on the big screen,
front and center.
How you guys doing? Good to see everybody.
Doing very well. Yeah.
And man, that is looking gorgeous. Beautiful work. When you show that, I mean, the pencil's amazing enough, but when you put up that page where you actually put in the ink and the color and everything, holy cow, it's looking beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. So far, so good.
I can accommodate that. Whoop, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. And Mr. Van, it's actually nice to meet you finally. I mean, I see you so much on social media. I never actually seen you, to interact, not quite in person, but at least I can see you moving. So nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks.
Well, Jarrod, I've got an update too, and you know all about it, but so that people want to know in terms of our comics, what I'm involved in. So the 3-issue Cold Lightning, which is a military sci-fi gothic type thing, is there. It is. It is in the home stretch.
Nice.
In the home stretch. We've got about 10 pages left to be drawn, and Ace is coloring, and you've been inking, and I mean, we're really in good shape there. Pulsar Blind Date, which is a one-shot Sentinels related comic starring the main character of the Sentinels, Pulsar, Lin Lee. It's a cute little story in kind of a Japanese manga style, and it's being colored now. It is underway of being colored. And finally, Jarrod, you'll be excited to know, I have now written 5 or 6 pages on the comic book script for Vegas Heist, the comic.
Nice.
Yes.
Vegas Heist, the comic. You know what? Mark did you don't remember this, but Mark did a few character sketches for that. We first started talking. We talked about maybe doing a comic about that year ago or so, and Mark did a couple of character sketches. I don't know if you remember that, but they were pretty cool. We'd have to dig those out again.
Yeah.
I don't Vegas Heist characters.
So yeah, I'm very excited to have 2 different stories coming out eventually, and your guys coming out, and it's going to be a great thing. Really excited.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. So much comic stuff being created right here. Stay tuned to the Long Box Crusades.
Yeah, exactly. And in these times, it's something positive to look forward to.
Absolutely,
it definitely is. So now is the time to do some Q&A with our special guest, Mr. Van Allen Plexico, who has written, I don't know, 1,000 novels, something like that.
Yeah, pretty close.
Actually, what is it, about 20? Have you read about 20 books? Is that right?
19 actually in print. 19. I got one more
close.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Close enough.
Van has won the Pulp Factory Novel of the Year award 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. 3 out of 19 is not bad. And I'm sure not all of them were all even in that show. So it's probably even a better ratio than that.
Yeah, that's actually awesome,
I'll take it.
Quick question: Where is the Vegas Heist available for purchase? Would that be on Amazon?
Yeah, absolutely. It's on Amazon. It's on Audible as well.
Right.
Pete Mylan did a great performance of it. Did all the characters and everything, the voices, the accents. Just fantastic of the gangsters and all. So it's on Audible. It's on Kindle. It's on Amazon as a paperback. In fact, here's the convention special cover that. I'm blanking out.
I can't remember his name either, but I know the one. It's a great cover.
Oh my God. I know him like Sean Alley. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Here's the Sean Alley cover, which is like
so good.
His movie poster, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, because I would like to get a copy and also I'm trying to get a copy of Jarrod's book, the Army one. I can't remember the name of it, Jarrod.
The True War Stories.
Yeah. But I can talk to Jarrod after and get the links for all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you can set me up, I'd like to order those things. Just take a quick look. Because I've heard so much about the Vegas Heist, right? But just never got around to getting it.
He's done character sketches. I know he has.
Yeah. Well, I did. I could probably put
this was one of the 3 that you mentioned that won the best novelist most recently. It won the 2019 award.
2019.
But that is excellent,
Oh, it's a great cover. I mean, the original cover was great, but that is just super sweet.
The original cover is the reason the book exists at all, because it actually came from a photo of my wife that my wife had that her uncle or cousin took like in 65. Oh. And I'm like, we found it in a shoebox, and I said, I've got to write a book about this picture. And I ended up like scanning and using the picture as the original cover before Sean did that cover. But yeah, I wrote the entire book around that photo of what the Strip in Vegas looked like in one night in 1965. That's how it came to be set in 1965, which in turn let me use Thunderball, I believe, as it. Had to get that in there, of course.
James Bond reference.
Miami Heist, by the way, to keep the tradition going, Miami Heist is in 66, and so they go to see Grand Prix, and that's what gives them the idea for the Monaco Heist, which will be 67. So I just got it.
And then the next one is Saigon Heist. I know that for a fact. I keep pitching this idea to Van. He keeps ignoring it, and that's all right.
I don't want to send my guys to Nam, basically.
Come on, man. It's a good idea. Anyway, we'll argue later. Courtney Courtney Holland in the chat asks a question that I was going to get to, so that's wonderful. What inspired you to write your comics and the books you've written? What's your main source of inspiration?
Yeah, no, that's like the toughest question. Harlan Ellison always used to say that he'd go to there was a business in New Jersey, you go by and give them $5 and they give you an inspiration, an idea. But I think probably, I have the type of personality that when I encounter something I really like, I want to do it too. If I go to Dragon Con the first time and see people in cool costumes, I'm like, man, I got to get me a cool costume. If I go to, if I read a book and it just blows me away, I'm like, I've got to write something like that. And so I just kind of want to, I always want to challenge myself to do something approaching the quality of something that moves me, And so, I'd read all the Avengers and stuff my entire life. So I wrote the Sentinels, and I'd read Roger Zelazny my whole life. So I started writing the Lucian type books, and I got into all the Donald Westlake crime stories. And so I said, I'll see if I can do it. I've always said I wanted to see if I had a crime novel in me. Turned out I had two. And now Alan J. Porter and I are going to be working on a third one together, Monaco. So we'll see how that goes. Of course,
there's Saigon Heist, which would be the fourth. Hey, it was a comment. It was a comment in the chat. I didn't. That's our friend Agent I. Welcome to the show, Agent I.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I give you guys credit because writing, I wouldn't know where to start. As far as writing is, so I give you guys credit, you and Jarrod.
Well, but I can't draw worth a flip though. So you have the magical.
Speaking of which, let's check in on this Voltron that he's doing. Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah,
there's nothing this guy can't draw. I know we're not interviewing Van or me. We're not interviewing me. We're interviewing Van. But same answer actually. For the stuff that I've written, it's like you just read things and you see things, and as you guys know, I like weird mashups. Let's put Hamilton with a werewolf and James Bond with some pirate zombies and stuff. And so I just write the ones I wish existed, and I think that's kind of what Van's doing, just writing things that he wishes existed.
Well, actually, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, the stuff you wish existed, but then you can make it happen.
Yeah, like Alpha Omega, the last book that I had published, it was like I always said, I want Space 1999, but I want them to actually be fighting like an enemy army and there be political intrigue, not just, some British alien talking to them from outer space. I want there to be like, I wanted to take Space 1999 and make it more like the new Battlestar Galactica in a way. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, so I have like Russian secret agents on the base, and although it's not on the moon, it's on Alpha Centauri, but I made it much more political intrigue and suspense, and not just pie in the sky sci-fi philosophy stuff. So, but with the same kind of things and all,
Very cool.
So, yeah.
We received another question from the chat for Sir Plexico. Apparently, you've been knighted in the chat. What's your favorite book to read or series? I know some of these answers already.
You do. Well, I don't make much of a secret of it, right? I broadcast it all over the place. I worship at the feet of the late Roger Zelazny. He is my lord and master and guide in all things creative. And so I love the Amber, the Corwin, the 5 Corwin books that begins with 9 Princes in Amber. I just absolutely love those because he combines a kind of a lyrical prose poetry with a pulpy action. Tough guy. He's kind of like Christopher Marr. I mean, no, he's like kind of like Sam Spade meets Philip Jose Farmer by way of English Victorian literature, but with some comedy, and it is a mashup, Jarrod, like you said, and
yeah,
I love it. Yeah,
good stuff.
Awesome stuff. Of the works that you've done, Van, of which are 19 published books, slews of short stories, comics you're working on, what are you most proud of?
And all the nonfiction stuff too, the Auburn stuff. I mean,
yeah. He writes books on Auburn football, which is the greatest football that there is.
Greatest. There's a new one coming out soon. We got 3/5 of it done during the COVID lockdown in the summer and spring, and then we kind of got frozen on it, but we'll be done with it this year, hopefully. Called We Believed, Volume 1. What am I most God? I mean, honestly, probably I think that the books I've written that I still look back at them and go, how did I do that? You know, like, did I really do that? Would probably be the 2 heist books, just because I didn't think I could write a crime novel, and I ended up writing, I think, 2 that I'm so proud of. And then I think probably Lucian, just in the sense that it was my first novel, really, and the first one published, and it people really, really like it. And it again, you know, when your first thing comes out better than you hope. God, I worked for 3 years on that thing in the middle of the night. While working 13 hours a day, 2 jobs. Then I went to Barnes and Noble and wrote from like 9 to midnight every night. Yeah, it's probably those 3, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. And these are all available for sale, by the way. I've got Plexico.net scrolling across the bottom of the screen there.
Okay, good.
People should be able to go there, right, to find pretty much anything and everything.
It's got links to everything else, yeah. Podcast, book.
I was just about to say, outside of writing, which we've been focusing on, you also podcast. Feel free to tell your audience about the podcast that you do.
Well, White Rocket is basically my company that a whole lot of the people are involved with, which is awesome. And I originally created it to publish books, and I published several different authors, including myself, because I can control them myself and not have to deal with what other people want me to do with them. But we also have 3 podcast channels, I like to call them, basically under the network. We've got the mothership, the White Rocket podcast, which is basically potpourri, everything, TV, comics, books, movies. You know, we've done whole runs on Game of Thrones while it was on. We did James Bond before we got the James Bond channel a bunch. We've done, basically new Marvel stuff, Mandalorian, all that comes out. We jump on it on the White Rocket channel. So it's just the White Rocket podcast. We've got the James Bond channel, which is on Her Majesty's Secret podcast that Jarrod, of course, is very heavily involved in, along with Alan J. Porter and Delvin and Pat and others. And we've got the AU Wishbone, which is where we do Auburn football every week. John Ringer and I do a show every week.
That you do, and I tune in for all of it. It's always a good time. I got another tough question from the chat. One more from the Duchess. Why did you start writing?
So I could finish writing.
I thought you were going to say the money.
Oh yeah, man. No, I think it's the same thing. It's you start writing to middle write, and you middle write to finish writing. In other words, it's not going to exist if you don't do it. And my motivation has always been, I want a finished product, and to get to that finished product, I've got to start and I've got to persist. And I've always tried to approach it with a very professional attitude, which is, look, I mean, I feel like the biggest danger to writers, at least to me, I don't know about everybody else, is distraction. We get distracted with other things. You might write 10 today. You're like, ooh, I really want to do a giant Japanese robot monster story, and I write 10 pages on that. And then tomorrow I'm like, you know what? I really want to do like an X-Men type story, and you do 10 pages on that. And then the next day you go, you know what? I really want to write is a Western with cowboys. And next thing you know, you got all these 10 pages that you don't finish.
Yep.
And so it's having the discipline to do the grunt work in between the joy of the inspiration at the beginning and the joy of the completion. There's a happiness at the beginning, there's a happiness at the end, but in between is just
it's rough. Yeah,
go.
Yeah, that part is rough, I must say. I agree.
No, I'm sure it's the same with artists, right? You have an idea of something you want to draw and you get excited about it, and you're excited when you finish it. But in between is just all that drawing, right?
It's a lot of work in between, I must say.
Let me show you a page I'm inking right now. There's a page from Cold Lightning. It's just inking away, about halfway done. This blue line.
It takes time,
But it's so good, though, Jarrod. This book is going to look so good, man. Cold Lightning is just going to be so awesome.
Yeah, I was privy to the chat between you and our colorist. You guys tweaking up some details, and it's so exciting. So exciting.
He's really wanting to get it right, and that makes me very happy because he was asking me because, you know, it's like, it started out as a novella.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can say there's this crowd fighting this crowd, and I can just say they look like this, they look like this, they're fighting. And then when Wendell draws it, I'm still not thinking about how it's going to look when it's finished. But when Ace sits down to color it, I'm suddenly going, oh God, they have to look like two separate groups. The reader has to know who's on what side. And Ace is already, he's like, what color does this group need to be? And what, uniform or cloaks or whatever, what color do they need to have on? And I'm like, man, I hadn't really thought about it. So first, we got to figure out who's who in the drawing, because Wendell kind of puts this big crowd, which is awesome, but I have to kind of parse in there and go, now, is that this side? Because I don't want to, if you get it wrong, the story gets totally confusing. Like, wait a minute, why are they on that side? So, yeah, it's good
guys and bad.
I love that Ace is trying to get it right. That really made me happy to see that.
Yes.
And Ace is an excellent colorist. Ace, once I see it, I can never, like you said, I can never imagine it until I see it. And then it looks better than I could have ever imagined,
There you go. There's some Ace coloring right there.
Mm-hmm.
He does great stuff. We had, it looked like another question for you in the chat.
See, Pat had one, yeah.
That's right. If you could collaborate with someone you admire, who would it be? Aside from me, of course, since we're already collaborating.
We've collaborated for years. The police are looking into our collaborations, Jarrod.
It's called collusion.
That's the word, yeah. Collusion, not collaboration. That was the word.
Similar, but not the same.
Similar, yeah. Now, I was going to say, I'm actually this year collaborating with somebody I admire very much, which is Alan J. Porter. He and I are going to do Monaco Heist together because I think what it was that he had maybe read one of them or knew about them, and then we started talking about this actual robbery that happened in the 60s at Monaco. And I said to him something like that would make a good third Harper and Salsa book. And so we started talking about, I said, well, I don't think I could write Monaco in the 60s though. That would, I would need somebody that actually knew what they're talking about. I can do Vegas, I can do Miami, but I don't think I could do Monaco. And he could, he's doing all this research on it and everything. And so together, I think we're going to get that done. In bigger terms, who would I collaborate with? Anybody? I mean, obviously Zelazny would be awesome, but most of the writers I really love are pretty much dead now. Honestly, there's not many left that I really love that aren't. Yeah. So.
Gotcha.
Cool.
I think I picked up one more in the chat. What advice would you give to someone who wants to write a book?
I think that probably
get started. I like it.
Well, that's fair. Yes, it is. I think I have a professional attitude about it is very important because understand that you're going to get partway into it and you're going to get kind of tired of it and be thinking of the new hotness. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, there's something else I could be doing that would be cooler. And if you let that happen, you will never finish because you'll always be distracted by the next thing. You have to have a professional attitude about it. And when excitement and inspiration wane, you have to have something else that can push you to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just attitude. It's just making up your mind and being determined. Yep. And also, I
was just saying, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that.
And I would also add that kind of you don't have to have it completely outlined and plotted out before you write. And some people do better kind of like self-discovery as they go. I get that. I change my story a lot from my original plans as new ideas come. But you've got to kind of know where you're going. Because if you don't, it's so hard to sit down and write when you're really not sure what you're doing. At least you got to know your characters and maybe kind of where they're going. A general direction. That really helps a lot for me, at least.
Excellent. I gotta stay on top of my tickers here.
A lot of good questions coming through.
They are. The question that I had for you, sir. Well, more of a thought statement. Like, I'm not saying that writing a story, and I've never written anything as long as you've created entire universes. I'm not saying that that's like going through hell, but I like to use the quote. I think it gets at what you were saying, and I think it's a Churchill who said, "When you're going through hell, keep going." And I think that's the point you're getting. Like, even when it gets hard, just get in the trenches and finish it.
Find your motivation somewhere. And for me, many times the motivation, like when I start, my motivation is I want to do a story like my own Avengers. Like I want the Sentinels. I want my own Avengers doing stuff. But you get to like page 70 and you've probably still got about 130 pages to go or 230 pages to go. It doesn't sound that much fun anymore. And now you got to find a new inspiration. And my inspiration many times is just, I want to see the book. Yeah. I want to see this finished. And the only way I'm ever going to see it in the real world is if I do it. So just approach it professionally and sit down and do it. It's the only way.
And I know what you're saying because I try to teach myself. I mean, inspiration is good, but you can't always rely on inspiration. Sometimes I just say it's time to draw, and I sit down and draw. It don't always come out how I want it to come out, but at least I'm doing something. Sometimes it comes out better, sometimes it comes out worse. But like you said, you have to approach it in a professional manner. If not, you will never get anything accomplished because you don't always. Some nights I can't wait to draw. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes it's just like, but I just sit down and say, and once I get going, you get in the rhythm and you get things done. But yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yep, all right, absolutely. I think I could take about one more question, and then Van's going to do a reading from one of his books, maybe two, if we have the time and the inclination. But one more question from Courtney: if you could bring any character to life to live in the real world, who would it be and why?
Oh, sweet. That's actually a real question.
I tell you what, if we could make the question a little easier, I guess, if you want to pick from your own universes.
Oh well,
or you could pick one overall. I mean, whatever you think.
Yeah. I'm going to say anybody I would bring out of the heist books is probably not somebody that we want around because they steal.
Right.
Yeah, they're fun people, but they're not like trustworthy. You wouldn't want to hang out with them so much. I get honestly probably Lynn Lee would be fun to hang out with. She's kind of wacky. She's my superhero 20-year-old Chinese American electromagnetically powered gold armor wearing superhero, and she's so cool. So
nice. Have fun. I've inked several drawings of her.
Yeah.
She sounds cool.
Awesome. I've got all those inked pages laying around here somewhere. Actually, if I looked hard enough, I'd find them.
Well, fortunately, you scanned them, and I have that, so we're good.
All right. For those of you who are interested in maybe catching a reading of Van from one of his own novels, which book would you like to start with today, Van?
Well, you were originally saying I was going to do two, and so I had a little short thing from Vegas Heist, and then a longer thing from Bareback, which is the prequel to Lucian. It's in my shattering sci-fi universe. So,
your call, man. I got banners prepared for either one. What are you feeling? Vegas Heist.
Let's start on Earth, then we'll go in outer space. How about that?
All right. So I got that, and let me see if I think I got a picture to go with it up in the corner. There you go, Barenack in the corner. Oh, wait, that's Barenack. There we go. Barenack. Vegas Heist.
Oh, and there's the other cover. Yeah, that's the other cover. That's the cover. The photograph of the mint in the background was actually taken by my wife's cousin in 1965, and that's where the story came from.
I lied. You have one more question to answer before you start your reading, because someone asked, what book is Lynn Lee from? If they wanted to read more about Lynn Lee, what book should they go to?
All the Sentinels. Sentinels start with Wind Strikes. It says Sentinels, Wind Strikes the Warlord, and it goes all. There's 9 volumes of her having fun, and we're having the comic book coming out soon too. So there's plenty of Lynn Lee. Pulsar is her code name in the books. There's it starts with Sentinels 1, Wind Strikes the Warlord. If you go to plexico.net, you can see like
there you go.
Sentinel thing. Yeah, it's the Sentinels series.
Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that at least Volume 1 is available on Audible, because that's how I did Book 1. It was on Audible.
Right. Yeah, the The first 3 of the 9 are on there so far. And by the way, Pete is currently recording Miami Heist, so that'll be out on Audible too soon.
Awesome. All right, we will let you read, and I may shift the photo from you reading to Mark drawing from time to time, but just everybody enjoy this excerpt from Vegas Heist by Van Allen Plexico.
All right, here we go. Thanks. Let's see. I'm going to move over here where I can see my PDF. Where did it go? Okay, so just a quick setup. The deal is our 4 heisters, Harper, Salsa, Rooker, and Donovan, are looking for a place, some kind of building near Caesar's Palace that supposedly has a way into the basement where the vault is in Caesar's Palace, but they don't know for sure. The person they got the information from they thought it was there, but they couldn't tell them where it was. So they're looking all around the neighborhoods of Vegas trying to find where this secret entrance must be. All right, here we go. Even though it was the closest to Caesar's Palace, the first place they checked turned out to be a dud. It was a little standalone building on a corner of an otherwise vacant lot that currently claimed to house an insurance agency, or rather an independent agent for one. A thorough search revealed no hidden doors, hatches, or access ways, just a couple of desks, some lamps, a couple of filing cabinets, and basic furniture. After about an hour of carefully and delicately going over it with a fine-tooth comb, they mutually agreed to move on to the second suspected location. This one was about a half mile to the south of the little insurance office. The block it occupied was largely vacant as well, with only a small flower shop, far too old to be the target, around on the far side of the rear parking lot. A wooden fence horizontally divided the block, separating them. It was a 1-story building, no more than 40 or 50 feet wide, 50 feet long on any side, a narrow sidewalk running in front of it. It looked even newer than the insurance building, as if it had just been built within the past year. A sign on a pole in the lot beside it, and a smaller one over the front door, both read Paradise Camera and Film. Like the other building they'd checked, it was less than a quarter of a mile from the perimeter of the new Caesar's Palace complex on the other side of the highway. Harper pulled the utility truck. They've grabbed them a utility truck and they're disguised, up directly in front of the entrance and parked. They all got out, and Rooker, the muscle, placed 3 orange traffic cones strategically around the vehicle's perimeter. While the others stood around loosely and casually behind him, obscuring him from the view of anyone who might happen by, Donovan, the safecracker, went at the door lock and made short work of it. As with the first place they'd visited, he took his time and didn't scrape or otherwise damage the lock because they didn't want to leave any evidence behind of their visit. After all, they might well be returning the next day. Being so careful slowed them down with the searching, but they figured they had the rest of the night to cover this place and possibly the third one. There was a general sense of growing urgency within the group. They'd only tried one of their 3 suspected places so far, but they all knew that if none of the 3 panned out, they'd be stuck. No way to get into the underground area beneath the new casino, and the big payday passing them by as of the 31st, just 2 days away, December 31st, 1965. Donovan got the door open at last. They slipped inside. The little shop was dark. Donovan didn't pull out his flashlight this time. At their previous stop, he'd gone for it, but Harper had simply switched on the lights, much to the other's surprise. It looks less suspicious to just have the overheads on, he'd explained, than to wave a flashlight around in a closed store. So now they found the switch near the door and flipped it. They blinked at the light and looked around. The front shop area was filled with 3 rows of shelves that held various makes of cameras and film that mostly seemed to come in little yellow and black boxes. Camera bags, tripods, flash cubes, and the like made up the rest of the inventory. 4 black rubber mats lay on the gray tile floor here and there. As they moved inside, they noticed a counter to the left with a cash register. They all paused to look at it momentarily, almost salivating, like lions at the watering hole when a gazelle just walks right up. No, Harper shook his head. But it's free money, Rooker said, frowning. If this is the place we want, Harper told him, we'll be coming back in less than a day. You want the cops here, taking statements, snooping around, keeping an eye on the place, looking out for suspicious characters, all that? And maybe finding whatever we're looking for along the way, Salsa added. Yeah, fine, whatever, Rooker grumbled. It can't be much anyway. So they all ignored the cash register and whatever might be inside it and turned their attention to what they'd come for, the search. Two possibilities had seemed most plausible when they discussed it all earlier at the Mint. Either the passageway would be accessed through a sort of closet with maybe a ladder or a small stairway inside, which meant it would be a hiding behind a doorway, or there would simply be a horizontal trap door set in the floor that you'd probably pull up. Anything more elaborate than that in a building so small seemed unlikely. While Salsa moved into the back room and searched for doors that looked like they led into utility closets, Harper and Rooker were on their knees out in the main shop area, lifting up rubber floor mats to see what lay beneath. Neither found anything of note beyond dead bugs and lint. After several minutes of this, Harper and Rooker gave up on the front. There simply weren't any other places a door could be hidden there. Turning off the front lights, they joined the other two guys in the back room. It was a small, tight space, mostly filled with cheap wooden shelving that held overstock and returned and broken items. There was an office off to the right where the manager probably did the books and kept the records. It held a desk and a chair with a black filing cabinet. It was about the size of a small bathroom. To the right was the actual restroom, and it was very, very tiny, so small that someone Rooker's size would have had a challenge getting in there and making any use of it at all. Hands on hips, they looked around. Nothing. Just one more of the black rubber mats right there in front of them in the center of the small open area. Salsa bent down, lifted it up, and held it off one side. Underneath was nothing but more of the square gray floor tiles that had been used for the entire store. Donovan groaned. Rooker just shook his head and started out toward the front. Salsa cursed softly. Harper was about to declare the camera shop another dud and lead them on to the third option. And then, still standing there holding the mat, Salsa noticed something. Hey, he said, wait a minute. The others stopped where they were and looked back at him. Huh? Rooker asked, sticking his head back in from the front area. Salsa tossed the mat aside, got down on his knees, and peered more closely at those light gray floor tiles, each about 12 inches square. Hey, what is it? Donovan asked, watching Salsa with rapt attention. They're all the same. They're not. The squares Salsa was currently looking at were ever so slightly a darker shade of gray than all the others. And those darker tiles were grouped together here in a square formation of 4 to a side. Maybe the mat kept them from fading, Rooker said. Blocked the sun. What sun? Salsa said. It's a storeroom. There are no windows. Rooker frowned at this news flash and leaned in, watching closely. Salsa was on his hands and knees now. He ran his fingertips carefully along the perimeter of the darkened square tiles. I think I feel something here, he said after a few seconds. Son of a gun, Donovan breathed. A click. Aha, Salsa said. Got it. Looking up at the others, he smiled a devilish smile. He climbed back to his feet, bent down, and with his fingernails managed to hook the edge of the darker square. He lifted. As one piece, the entire square of darker tiles swung upward. The tiles were revealed to be the upper surface of a piece of wood 4 feet square and more than an inch thick, set on hidden hinges. Well, Donovan muttered, eyes wide. Harper moved around and grasped the newly revealed trapdoor from behind and helped swing it the rest of the way up and over and onto the floor. Now they were all staring into a hole, a tunnel leading down into darkness. Donovan got his flashlight out and clicked it on and pointed it through the opening. The circle of light revealed a cylindrical access tunnel leading at least 20 feet down to a smooth gray concrete floor at the bottom. A red-colored metal ladder had been set permanently into the wall to one side. The tunnel was broken at the bottom by what looked to be a horizontal passageway of indeterminate size leading off into more darkness, leading off in the direction of Caesar's palace. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then they all looked up from the hole at each other, and slowly they broke into grins. Gentlemen, Harper said, assuming this isn't the camera store's fruit cellar, I believe we are in business.
Nice. Nicely done.
I was getting right into that.
Well, that's excellent.
some of my favorite parts of any heist or robbery story are trying to figure out where the hidden secret room or secret passage. I've always loved those since I was a little kid. So it just absolutely thrilled me to put a secret passage into this, So
that was excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. I think what I liked most about it is it was clearly well copy edited. Someone probably put a lot of time and effort into that.
No doubt, man. That's the best part, surely.
All right, so I helped copy edit that book for Van, but no. Yes, if you are a fan of, I hope you don't find any of this insulting, Van, but like Ocean's movies.
This
is in that vein. If you're a fan of the Parker crime books, it's in that vein. A quick, breezy read and an very enjoyable read. So that was Vegas Heist.
Yeah, both it and the sequel Miami Heist are both about 230 pages, so about as standard small paperback.
Yeah, that's not nothing. That's nice. That's a nice length too,
Yeah, that's his comment.
Must be healthy, right? But one quick thing I might say, what I also like about how writers and yourself write is how you describe things, like the red metal ladder. I mean, I always find it so fascinating because it takes you right to where, like, you start to imagine exactly if you were there, how things would look. And that's the one thing I love writers who write like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to visualize in my head exactly what these things would look like, and that's why this was a little harder than I've written. Is because I didn't live in 1965, so I had to kind of go by. I did a lot of Google searches, and I had to think back to like watching the Rockford Files and and earlier shows.
Yeah.
You don't even see camera shops running around much anymore.
I know. There's so many things. But get this, I even had to research if they had the orange rubber cones back then.
Oh, yep, the research.
I wanted them to set out the cones around the van around the truck. This is a utility truck that they got, and I wanted them to be able to put the cones out. And I'm like, wait a minute, did they do that in 1965? I don't know. And I they did.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I didn't want it to be an anachronism. I didn't want people to go, they didn't have, orange plastic cones in 19. Well, it takes me out of the story. So I had to research and make sure that they did.
I had the same thing with a comic I have in the works, and the artist turned in some pages of a guy on a ship holding a gun, and it was a revolver. And I was like, I don't think revolvers have been invented yet. So I had to go do my research. In fact, truth be told, Van, there's a part in that story where the story leaps forward 10 years, and the whole purpose of that is so that revolvers would be invented by the time I needed them.
That's awesome. And then Solomon Kane pulled out his AK-47.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for doing that reading. Did anybody in the chat or any of our viewers, if they had any questions for that, we'll take a little pause for that. We'll check in with Mark and Van. If you're feeling the Baronac, then we'll I can
do a little bit. I'll do a little shorter one for it because that one took a little longer than I expected. So I'll just.
It was fun though. It was fun. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in that book. Why can I not find Mark's ticker? Where's Mark? There it is. There we go.
Yeah, my light's gone off.
Mark is working away at this awesome Voltron piece there in his sketchbook. I bet he's willing to tear that out and mail it to you for a fee.
I sure am. Hey, but it's all good, man. In all fairness.
So awesome.
Thanks.
Looking good. All right, so Van is gonna have one ball. I'll try again. I'll change out. I'll get the words out of my mouth eventually. The upper right-hand corner to Baronac, which is from Van's Shattering universe, of which there are many, many books. If you want to give a primer as best you can on the Shattering, good luck with that. The Shattering universe.
I kind of write them as the inspiration comes, and so they're kind of scattershot. And Michael Gordon of the Earth Station One Network, I thought, had the best line about it. He said some series are written chronologically, some are written in like some other order. And then there's whatever Van's doing, which nobody understands. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. It's true, but I write them when the spirit moves me, and I can't write them out of order for me because I wouldn't know what to write. I have to write when I get the story, when it comes over the transom, as they say.
I got you.
Well, let me just set this up because I'm only doing a little bit of it here at the end. I'm going to skip through toward this chapter toward the end, but
okay.
So this is my Jack Kirby, Jim Starlin, Roger Zelazny universe. There's gods like the Greek gods that have powers, and they interact not with humans today, but with humans in a future kind of Star Warsy universe. So it's like if you combined cosmic gods with a sci-fi military future to get this together. Right, there's that matchup we talked about. And some of my books more emphasize the military, the humans, like Cold Lightning is part of that. And some of them more emphasize the gods, like Lucian, Baranak, Caroline, those books, that trilogy. And this is the one that kind of is the origin story of it all, even though it didn't come out first. So that's part of the thing, right? So I'm just going to, if you want to go ahead, I'll just do like a quick, like, part of one of the chapters that I think is kind of neat, in my opinion.
Okay. I'll change banner accordingly.
Okay.
Ooh, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Van Allen Plexico reading from Baranak.
All right. So Baranak at this point is still a human. Things change later, but here he's a human guy. He's an officer in his father's military. His father's a military commander. And he's sort of kind of accidentally teamed up with this alien. I have these aliens called the Dianari. They're kind of like space elves, kind of. And they're very enigmatic and creepy and very advanced and all. And they're traveling from dimension to dimension they're trying to track down these 8 other Dianari aliens that are trying to basically destroy half the universe and conquer the other half and make themselves gods and all that. So it's very complicated, but it's not if you read it from the beginning. I just want you to make sense of this part I'm reading. So they've tracked down one of the 8. They've already, I think, taken out 3 of them, and they've tracked down another one called Orandi, who is the guardian of the Well of Eternity. And I wanted to do this because it's totally different from Vegas Heights. It shows a little range, I hope, right? That I can do something that's totally different from criminals in Las Vegas. So here we go. So they're approaching this old immortal. The old immortal Orandi. Istari is the guy teaming up with Baranak. So the old immortal glared back at us for several seconds, then brushed with his clawed hands at the sword blade. Then let me up from here and I will show you, he said. Istari moved the blade away but kept it ready. He backed up a step and I did as well. Orandi rose from his seat and slowly and carefully made his way down the steps until he stood before the circular pool. The tubes and wires pulled loose from him as he moved, spilling oily-looking fluids across the dais, but he ignored them. We followed him while our troops all trained their weapons on him in case he tried anything. A comet, blazing bright orange, was burning its way across the face of the basin as we looked down at it. The stars behind it had faded somewhat, washed out by the magnificent manifestation. Look into the well of eternity, Orandi intoned, and witness your fate. Was it some sort of trap? I couldn't imagine so. In a way, however, I sort of hoped it was, because if he actually could show us our futures, and what we saw revealed there turned out to be horrifically negative, I shook my head. I didn't want to think about it. Call me an optimist, but I'd always believed that seeing the future would reveal to me the best possible outcome for my life and my work. I doubt that I'm alone in thinking that. Being able to show someone a dismal, depressing future, whether true or not, would therefore be a powerful weapon in this being's hands. It could potentially undermine one's entire self-confidence and belief system. The more I thought about these things, the less I wanted to look into his well. Istari seemed to have no such compunctions. He leaned over the edge, gazing into the cosmic waters. Orandi sneered as he watched Istari looking into the well. Then he turned to me and instantly he frowned. "Who are you?" he asked, his bravado melting away. "How did you come to be here?" This puzzled me. I'd gotten the impression he had seen me and had been addressing me since we'd entered, but now it was as if he were encountering me for the first time. I started to ask what he was talking about when his claw-like hand darted out and grasped my own. "Hey," I began. He gasped, released me, and staggered back a step. His bloodshot eyes stared back into my own. His mouth opened as if to speak, but no sound came forth save a series of short gasps. Then he stared down at the floor, mumbling something unintelligible. Istari had been staring into the well during the entirety of this exchange and caught none of it. Now he looked up, grunted, nodded to himself, and looked away for a moment. Then he turned to me. "Are you satisfied?" he asked. I hadn't looked into the well. I had pretty much decided not to anyway, and then I'd been distracted by the oracle's reaction to me. I thought about it one more time, looked back at him, and nodded. "Yeah, I've seen all I want to see here." Istari nodded back, then turned to Arandi. He smiled. "It would appear your usefulness has reached its ending." "Wait," I interjected. I faced the oracle and asked, "What was that all about? What made you react that way to me?" What?" The oracle had still been contemplating the floor. Now he looked up at me, and again it seemed as if he were noticing me for the first time. This time, though, he exhibited no sudden reactions. He merely peered back at me dully. Istari gave me an odd look. He'd missed it all and had no idea what I was talking about or what was happening. Arandi blinked, shook his head, and replied, "Nothing. It was nothing." I gave him another second or two to acknowledge and explain, but he merely frowned and looked off to the side as if utterly confused by it all. Istari gave me a quick look. I shrugged, not certain what was happening or what to say. Istari took this, however, as an indication for me that I didn't care what became of the old guy. He nodded back. Then he ran the elderly immortal all the way through with a lightning strike of his sword. I recoiled, surprised. Before I could say anything, Istari had kicked Arandi off the impaling weapon and allowed the oracle's dying body to stumble backwards. Gasping, he staggered back until his lower legs met the rim of the well. He tripped, head over heels, and tumbled into it. There was no splash, no impact of any sort. He merely fell and fell and fell, and eventually he was lost to view. Istari leaned down and gazed into the well. "He claimed eternity," the alien said. "Now he belongs to it." I looked up from the dark depths of the void to the darker depths of my companion's eyes. They were now cold and hard. "Why did you?" "I told you I would hurl him into the abyss," he said, his voice flat. "And I did." I started to respond, but couldn't decide what to say. I exhaled slowly and nodded, and together we walked around the well of eternity and helped our wounded troopers to their feet. Then we made ready for the next phase of the operation. How had it come to this? I had never considered myself a proper soldier, a warrior of any sort. Unlike my uncles and perhaps even my father himself, I had never dreamed of the glory of battle. No, what I was doing was not out of love of combat and desire for victory over my foes. It was something much less glamorous, less exciting, less thrilling. It was simply duty. That was it. That was what I clung to for the longest time. I was merely doing my duty to my father, to my family, and my home world. Nothing beyond that. At the time, I refused to even entertain the idea that some part of me deep inside had been awakened by it, that I might actually be enjoying it. Later, I would want to blame Istari for the change within myself. But I know now that he was not at fault, at least not in that way. No, there had been in me since birth, I believe, a potential for violence, for battle, that had lain dormant, like dry kindling, awaiting a fateful spark. Istari, Prometheus-like in so many ways, provided that spark, but he was not the fire. The fire was within me all that time, awaiting its opportunity to blossom. As for Istari, 4 down, he stated flatly, wiping the blade of the golden sword on the outfit of one of the oracle's fallen savages. 4 to go. I didn't like Istari. I found him entirely too enigmatic and not at all trustworthy. I certainly didn't condone all of his actions, but I couldn't argue with his math. All right.
Excellent.
Oh, man. You have me hanging one again. You know what I mean? Have me hanging one for the next
comments. Give me more Baranac.
You gotta understand. Well,
Baranac needs to be a movie.
Oh, Courtney's comment right before that is so sweet. I appreciate that. No, an elf alien Duchess.
Break the pause or stop button.
Oh no, Courtney. Courtney says, "Give me some more." Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Courtney. That is so sweet. You guys are great. I really appreciate your comments and questions so much. Jarrod, what I wanted to say was that you'll understand better. Baranac, in the first novel, he's already the god of battle. He's like the Greek god of battle, like this big golden, like Thor or Hercules. In this book, he's just a mortal, but this is where he's first realizing that his destiny might be different than he thinks. He didn't look in the well and see, because then he would know and it would be locked. But he's starting to realize that this is the direction he's headed in already. So that's kind of, you kind of have to read the whole book for it all to make sense. But I just want to give you a sense of how it's written and how it's different from Vegas Heist. So
there you go. Cool. And that, along with everything else, books, podcasts, whatever you could possibly want, is available, as you see on the bottom of your screen, at www.plexico.net.
I'll have to check that out.
And wow, that was a lot of fun to get a couple readings from Mr. Van Allen Plexico. Now is the time to get in your last minute questions as we wind down our episode.
I appreciate
Mark,
I always enjoy it.
Oh, great. Mark, you got any last minute questions from Mr. Van Allen Plexico?
No, I'm good. I enjoy the story, and I'm going to look into some of those books, because I always heard Jarrod talking about it, and I admit I haven't been trying hard enough to find it, but now I have you here, and I check out the link, and I can take it from there. But good writing, you know what I mean? And thanks for the words, because, like you said, everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But you have to find your way to the end, you know what I mean? And how you put it, it's very easy to start because you have that adrenaline, so you're gung-ho. But then you get so far and it's like, oh man, where am I going? Where am I at? But that's the part where you have to keep pushing through. So I really appreciate it. I never really thought about it that way, but that made a lot of sense. So thank you.
Yeah, no, that I totally agree. Thanks. And man, that your Transformer is looking fantastic. It's just getting more and more depth. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, thanks. Just doodling about having some fun, killing some time off.
There, he's got the big board. You can see him working on that there. Voltron. If anybody's interested in the purchase, go ahead. If you're watching this on a replay, if I turn off this particular banner, then all of our little names should show up. And you can reach Mark on Instagram at Mark_Hatherley if you're interested in purchasing. Or hey, there's me. I can be found at Yard Sale Artist on any social media platform. If you hit me up, I will get you in touch with Mark. Let's see. We got a couple of in the chat for Van. We got, have you ever thought of writing a book as a gift for your wife, published and all?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I will say, by the way, that my daughter, Mira, that's 12, writes all the time. She totally got the gene from me. And and so she's hoping to get some stuff published and out, and she's really good. She's writing like this long fantasy novel thing. I would totally be up for, in a way, it kind of like Vegas Heist was kind of for my wife in the sense that it was her relatives that took the picture, and went on that trip. And I kind of brought that in, but she likes stuff like Outlander, and I couldn't begin. That's just too, that'd be a real challenge.
Oh, I've actually done a couple of Outlander book page sketches. I don't think I've ever showed those to you, Van, but I've shown to you.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the TV show, but the books are like, this. Humongous.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Good chat going on. We've had some fun with Van. Any more last minute questions? Squeeze them in now. Van, do you have any parting words of advice, questions for Mark and I, anything like that before you need to head off?
Well, I just appreciate it. I'm always happy to perform stuff like this, and have an appreciative audience is just as a blessing, as they say. It's just a great thing to have people that appreciate it and want to check it out. And Courtney, I appreciate you and Duchess and others. Y'all are so great. That's awesome. And I just, it's so inspirational while I'm sharing my thing to see you guys with your things and realize that there are people out there that are so talented, and it's just great. It just makes me feel good about the world,
Yeah, that is the point of the show. We try to come back every month with somebody out there who's creating something. Spoiler alert for I'm going to try to get musical genius Joe November on our next episode to talk about creating music.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll play some of his tracks, and you guys have heard him before if you followed Mark and I for a while, because we drew to his music a lot on our old channel, so it'll be fun. But I would definitely want to thank Van for taking the time out of his day to spend with us, to read to us. You read well, by the way. It's probably because in your day job you're an instructor with a good presentation voice.
And I've done a lot of conventions over the years, so I've tried to get more and more entertaining with it and not just put people to sleep.
I had a spoiler peek behind the curtain. I had heard that Baranac before. I heard you read it at LibertyCon when we were up there.
Right. That's right. That's one of my favorite chapters to read from anything. It's just fun. So, yeah.
Okay, well, let's do our round the horn of where everybody can find us, and we will call it a. We'll start with our resident artist Mark, who is wrapping up a wonderful Voltron, which again is for sale. If anybody's interested, let us know. Mark, where can the viewers find you on social media?
The best place will probably be Instagram. Mark, as you see, on the screen there, at Mark_Hatherley. That will be the best thing. You can just hit me up, send me a message, private message or whatever, make a comment on one of the pictures on my account, and then we can take it from there.
Excellent. And you've inspired me to remember to do, I'm going to fix my name. There we go. I, of course, am Jarrod Alberich. Some know me as Death Probe on the Longbox Crusade Network and other podcasts I do. You can find me at Yard Sale. Dang it. There's a misspelling in my own handle. Why?
Nice.
Why? Hang on.
Keep it exciting.
Hang on. Wait for the big change. There you go. Yard Sale Artist. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's all at Yard Sale Artist. We definitely encourage you to check out our podcasts on the Longbox Crusade Network. You can look up at Longbox Crusade on any social media, and we are there. And let's let our guest take it home with where we can find him. There's a hint on the bottom of the screen.
It's backwards, but it's going there. It goes. Come back. www.plexico.net. Yeah. You can also just Google White Rocket Books, or just go to Amazon. If you go to Amazon and just type in Van Plexico or Van Allen Plexico, any of that work, it all goes to the same place. It all gets you to the same stuff. So, and there's actually a if you go to whiterocketbooks.com or plexico.net that take you to whiterocketbooks.com, they've now got the entire Sentinels series on one page, and they've got the Lucian, Baranac, and Caroline trilogy on one page, so you can see all the books that are connected in one place. Excellent. That's very handy. Yeah.
And there's a very, very, very good percentage chance that White Rocket and Van will be the publisher for Shipwrecker that we've talked about. Awesome. Just kind of have to let Van read that, make sure he wants to publish.
Yeah. It's all good. No pressure.
Sounds amazing.
So
sounds amazing.
All that is to come. And with that, we bid you adieu, everyone, from Longbox Crusade Studios. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. Yep. And we will catch you next month, probably with Musical Genius Joe November, unless there's a scheduling issue. If there is, well, you never know who might stop by. Catch y'all later.
Yep. Goodbye.
Bye.